working with blob storage. We have already seen blob is nothing but a file. In simplest language, a file is a blob. One blob you can treat as one file. Can be a text file, can be a binary file, any format of the file doesn't really matter. So once a storage account is created, we would want to store the blobs into a storage account, for which we'll have to create a container. What is very important is the container which is created is case sensitive. It is compulsory supposed to be all lowercase. 1. 2. The blob URL is also case sensitive. That means the blob name which we are using is also supposed to be case sensitive. Blob name can be mixed of uppercase, lowercase, but my recommendation to everybody is always keep it as all lowercase so that you don't have ambiguity. But otherwise, uppercase, lowercase blob names can be two different blobs. Combination creates a different blob. And two containers are always supposed to be in lowercase. Yes, these are few examples of the type of blob which we have already discussed. Blob storage is also called as object storage because blobs are nothing but objects when they get stored. Now what is important to know here is one storage account has a capacity of 500 TB. Now this 500 TB actually spans over all the 4 types of storage. That means we can have few blobs, few table storage volume, few messages in the queue, and file storage combined together is 500 TB. At the same time, it is also possible that blob alone can be 500 TB. That means rest of it you cannot store. So all 500 TB or split, total is 500 TB. That is what you have to remember here. Every blob is replicated, blah 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 story based on the replication model and so on. Now another important thing you should know, blob is a flat storage schema. That means all are at the same level. There is no hierarchy. But in case we want a hierarchical storage, what shall we do? What we will do is in the name of the blob, we will give like this. The name of the blob itself is going to be framed like this. So January/reports.txt is one blob item. February/reports.txt is another blob item. So now, based on this, I can create a filter now called as /January. Remember, blob name is being used to simulate the directory, but by as such, blob is flat hierarchy. So in the name itself, you can create a hierarchy as per your requirement. Filter can be applied on January or February, and most of the time it works. Whenever you are having a blob URL, suppose some blob name is there, it is supposed to be in a container. Container inside container not allowed. Blob compulsory should be directly inside a container. And here you are going to have a blob URL. So URL of the blob is fixed. Your storage account name .blob.core.windows.net, container name, blob name. There are 3 types of blobs. We call it as block blob, append blob, page blob. Now what is block blob? In routine, what we upload as stream and we later read that whole thing as one unit. We write as one unit and we read as one unit. Maybe your MP4 files or a PDF file or a Word file. Those type of blobs are block blobs. They are basically stored in the form of blocks, one block. And each block can be up to 4 MB in size. Internally, the blob is divided into smaller blocks and each block can be up to 4 MB in size. Advantage is at the time of uploading the blob, each block can be uploaded parallel. And later they will all get synced with each other and merged. And the size of each blob item can be 200 GB in size. One blob together is 200. Each block is 4 MB. parallel each block is uploaded and they are saved as one unit, and whenever we read as one unit. That's blob. Then we have got append blob. Append blob is very similar to blob, but the advantage here is we can append the content to the existing blob. Whatever is there, to that we can append new content. Yes, it is ideal for situations where we want to perform logging and auditing operations. We want to do a lot of appending operations. That is where this is very useful. But remember, what is already there, you cannot update that or you cannot delete that. You can only append to the existing blob. Blocks cannot be updated, blocks cannot be deleted. Block can be appended, append block. And then we have got page blobs. Page blobs are ideal for virtual machines. Yeah, earlier page blob size was restricted to 1 TB, they upgraded to 4 TB. Now I have seen in documentation it can be up to 8 TB, 8 terabytes. So page blob is of 8 TB and best for random read and write operations. And this is why it is best for virtual machine disk, VHD files. So 3 types of blobs, remember. There can be question based on this also. There can be question based on the URL. There can be question based on the information like what is case sensitive, case insensitive stuff. Small topic, but lot of important things here. So let's now go to portal where we have the storage account. Go to blob and let's play around with this. I create a container and I call that container as, let's say, my images. Important thing, all lowercase. Give uppercase, it will not take. It should be all lowercase. Every container can be private or can be blob access or container access. Now what is the difference between these three? Private means it is not accessible to anonymous user. For every storage account, we are going to have a access key. Only those who have the access key will be able to access content. That means blobs which are there in this container. The whole container is secured. We can choose blob. That means it is giving read-only access to anonymous user. Anonymous users are not logged in user or users who do not have the access key. So even without access key, I can access a particular blob, but the condition is I should know that blob URL. If I know the blob URL, I can access that blob. But then there is one more container, which is same as blob, but gives you additional ability to list all the blobs which are there in a given container. That means I can use a for loop and go through all the blobs in a container, listing of container we call it. And of course, individual blobs can be accessed by anonymous user. So it's up to you. What do you want to keep? So I can put here as private images and make this as a private blob. So all my private images, I'm going to store it in that, and unless I have the access key, I will not be able to access it. Now go into this. Rather, let's do one thing. We'll create one more container. We'll call it as public images. All my public images I'll put here. Private images I'll put here. Go to private images and we can upload a file. Whatever we are doing right now through portal, we can as well do these things using storage. So some file I upload. So let us say Deckensoft logo I am uploading here. Now there is an advanced option where authentication type, there is something called as OAuth SAS, which we discuss later. Block size you can give here, and in case you want the file name to have path, you can give folder name here. But remember, upload to folder does not mean it is creating a physical folder in storage. It's just that the name will get created like that. I'm not giving for now. I just say upload, and it's uploaded. Likewise, I now go to public images, and in public images also I upload it. Same logo. Now select the image and you get the URL here. Copy, paste it here, and this is what? Public images, so you can see the image. Perfect. But go to now the other container, private images. Select the JPG, get the URL, copy this, and this will not work. It simply says does not exist, and that's it. So we are clear that public images we are able to access, private images we are not able to access. So what is the use? No, private images can also be accessed, but we have to provide a key for it. That's called as a SAS key. There are different types of SAS and we are going to go more deeper into it. But for the time being, I'll just generate SAS and I'll say okay and say okay. And now I copy this URL. I'll explain this whole thing. I'll explain to you later. But now I take this and this I'm going to paste it here. So the difference is in this URL, we have got after the file name some SAS token, we call it. Shared Access Security Token. SAS token. Press enter and the images will get served. So private images are not served is not the point. They will be served, but the help of SAS token. SAS token should be provided for those images. Now how is this SAS token generated? Which we'll have to see. We can generate this through code. We can generate through PowerShell. There are various ways of doing it. But that's the idea here. So there can be certain images which are certain content which is secured, and only through those users whom you provide SAS token can access it. There can be something which is completely public. Just put it on internet and anybody has access to that URL will be able to use it. So it's up to you. Then for every image, right now it is an image, but imagine it is a text file. I can take a snapshot of it. That means the value of it at that point of time is a snapshot. Obviously after that this will continue to change. Snapshot is like a photograph. At that time it was like this. So for one blob, multiple snapshots can be created. I'm not doing all this. I'm just explaining and leaving it for you people. And of course you have the ability, if the snapshots are taken, you can always select the snapshot and delete them. Or you get a separate URL for the snapshots. So you can access the snapshot separately. If it is text based image, if it is text based blob, I can even do an edit. This I cannot because it's a binary thing. I cannot do editing of this. But if I upload some text file, I can update that. Generate SAS, I have already explained to you. There are a few more things. I can always select a particular blob and delete. Now when we delete, Now there is a facility where the archived content will be stored in background. So blob is in least state or locked for deletion will be skipped. That means sometimes what happens is we want to work with blob. So what we do is we'll take a lease of the blob. Through code we will do that. When we take the lease of the blob, others will not be able to edit the blob. It's like locking the blob. So those blobs which are leased cannot be deleted. Folder deletion is not supported because it is not folder actually. It's a folder name associated with the blob name. They are together as one blob. In order to delete a blob, all snapshots must be deleted. Very important. So I click on OK. See, I'm not able to delete because the blob has a snapshot. So if I go to snapshot, I delete this snapshot first and then I now go to the blob and delete. This has deleted the blob completely now. What is important is, though blob is deleted, you can still recover it. By mistake, sometimes you delete it. You can still recover it. Put a check mark here. Show deleted blobs. So it's not showing here. I know the reason is in container there is a property which we have to first enable. Soft delete. So right now soft delete is not enabled. You have to first enable soft delete and you have to specify what is the retention period. That means after you delete, how many days that blob will be maintained in background, and within that period you can always restore it. So soft delete should be enabled, and those blobs which are deleted are only soft deleted, they are not hard deleted. So always you can go back and restore a deleted blob if needed. So I'm discarding this. Yes, you do the demo for yourself, but yes, soft delete feature is what is very beautiful for situations when we want to simply get rid of blobs which are deleted, and also provide facility to auto recover in case there is a need for it. So these are the few things, and you can see here there is an access key. This access key is what we are supposed to provide to the developers. The .NET developer, Java developer, they need a connection string to connect to the storage. And the connection string has, let me copy this into Notepad. The connection string has protocol, account name, and account key. What is important is you are going to see that there are two account keys. You have got key 1 and you have got key 2. So question is, why do we need two keys? Is one key not sufficient? Why do we need two keys? Both the keys have same privilege. That means what you can do with key 1, you can do with key 2 also. So why is key 1 and key 2 both available? So imagine now I have an application and my application is already using the key 1. The moment I come here and I regenerate the key, it is recommended that we regenerate the key pretty often because there is a chance that the key gets compromised, and if the key is compromised, your storage blob, your complete storage account is compromised, because anybody who has access to this key will be able to do everything with the storage account. So very important. So key we can keep changing, but my application is already running and it is using key 1, and if I regenerate key 1, it becomes a new key. The minute it becomes a new key, the moment it becomes a new key, my application will go down. It will not work anymore because it is already using key 1. So whenever we are migrating the key, what we do is first we will change, whenever we are regenerating the key, what we do is we first change key 1 to key 2. By just changing key 1 to key 2, maybe if you are doing web application, let's say in config file, you will change it. By changing from key 1 to key 2, your application is continuing to run. There is no downtime. Now I come back and change here from old key value to new key. After I change here, I got a new value, and now I have a choice of going back to my application and replacing key 2 with key 1. And again application is up and running. So to avoid any downtime for the application, we don't want any kind of downtime for the application. To avoid that, we go for key 1, key 2. Both are needed in these kind of situations. But remember, key 1, key 2 both have same privilege. What you can do with key 1, you can also do with key 2. There is no difference between them. Except for the situation I explained you, there is no significance of key 1, key 2. Then there is something called as CORS here, which is also very important. Now imagine I am writing an application, and if the application is hosted on a website which is supposed to access storage account. So I am supposed to give here the URL of that website, whatever website is. Imagine best.nettraining.com, and I would allow the headers, all the headers I would allow. Otherwise I'll simply put star. Headers which are exposed, I'll put star. And what is the benefit of this? By giving CORS, we are letting best.nettraining.com access all the URLs in this particular storage. Otherwise, if this CORS is not provided, no site can access this storage account, though they might have the key. They has access key, but still through code they cannot access. They can copy and paste the URL like I did in the browser, but this through code they cannot use it in another website web page. Especially when we are trying to access BLOB using JavaScript or jQuery, it will not work. So for it to work, we'll have to allow origin. We have to create a CORS. That means cross origin request we have to allow. And this is for what request method, that also you'll have to select. Is it only get, or is it going to be update? Is it going to be delete? It is going to be all these options also you'll have to select. Mostly get only. So say for example, deckensoft.com has its storage here. I mean not Deckensoft, best.nettraining.com has our storage account here. So what you will see is when you are accessing videos, you actually see mirror 1 and mirror 2 on our website. Mirror 1 is a storage account which is in West India, and mirror 2 is a storage account which is in East US. That means we have same content in two places. We created two copies so that it is convenient for people in US and India. So I go to BDT material, I go to blobs, and here I have videos, and all our videos will be present here. Of course, we have created a folder name kind of architecture, and in that you will see all these MP4 files are present. So if somebody knows the path, they would be able to access these files. And the same path is there here also, just that the first part, the storage account name is changing. Why did we create two copies? People in US should be able to use East USA, people in India should be able to use this, and whichever is faster for them, that they can make use of. But what is important is best.nettraining.com is a different URL, and the URL of this storage is different. Their endpoints are different. So this storage would not allow the access unless we provide CORS here. If we are accessing through JavaScript, we are not accessing through JavaScript, that's why it is fine. We are constructing the URL on the server and rendering it. But by chance, if through JavaScript we are performing any kind of operation on a storage, then we will have to provide the URL of the site where the JavaScript is used. So be careful on that course thing. Now Microsoft has provided a way where you can simply build a complete static website by uploading the files in storage. You upload the files into storage, give the file names path if you want, mention the index file, and that's it, you are done. Your website is up and running. So you build a local static HTML files, link them all with each other because every file has a URL. So it can be a static website also, which you can build now with Azure Storage. So these are few important options which we have discussed now, but there are many more and we are going to discuss over a period of time. That's all in this particular session. I hope you are very clear about what is a blob and certain common options which are available in storage account. Thank you.